you did from what his response was.
I don't know.
Because a lot of people didn't pick up on him talking about academic privacy or academic free speech not being available anymore.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have understood it.
All right,
And,
so we're live, I think,
Start.
on Dave's channel.
Okay.
I'm gonna check.
Well,
Still looking, I'm not finding it.
academic free speech goes beyond science. I mean, academic free speech goes into into other people too. That we're seeing, you know, professors being either canned or threatened, you know, with you know, consequences for their speech outside of school and things like that. So
I also think there needs to be a limit on, there's a copyright. I mean, not copyright, but patents. There's a limit on time that you can hold a patent.
Give me a second.
I believe there need.
I completely.
Give me a second.
Like, I completely agree with that.
Dave, can you double check your stream key and make sure you gave me the right one?
Okay.
It looks like it's
I
working.
think it's 10
Oh, it
years.
is?
I think it's 10
Yeah,
years
it's
right
working.
now.
He's up.
it's on. Yeah, I agree.
What was that about patents, Snork? What was that? You didn't finish your
Well, there's a copyrights. Is it 50 or 75 years after the death of the author? Patent expires 17 years, 10 years. I believe there's different qualities of patents now.
The drugs is what I'm most used to, but it probably 10 to get a generic way.
There are a lot of secrets that are not secrets kept by the government, but secrets kept by the companies of things they've done or processes that they've used. It's not shared with the public.
Money.
Right, but I believe that for people to know those secrets, they need to be able to talk about them after 17 years or some period of time.
Some kind of Freedom of Information Act.
Right. There is so much that needs to be known.
Bram, you're so right, but it probably doesn't apply to corporations. Corporations only get their people status when they want it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When they want it.
Well, I think that's the
Otherwise,
point
they get the
Stork is trying to make.
business law interpretations of shit, whereas they're like, well, it's a business, so they can run it how they want to. That's probably what happened with the DNC.
Well, if you know something bad, it shouldn't be gagged for life.
Amy, I congratulate you. You're the first person to curse on my live stream channel. Congratulations. You win a kazoo.
Which one did I use? I'm sorry.
Yes, no, I'm just saying. Bram was the first one to go on my chat. You were the first one to use a curse. Good job.
Which curse did I use?
The S word.
The S word? Oh,
yeah, I say shite, so.
Well, I'll say the T word.
That's not the one I would have thought I would have used.
I'll say the T word. Trump. Trump.
Bean shite. How's that?
Well, the other thing, you know, as far as like this, you know, releasing some of this information, is we can start strengthening whistleblower laws across the board. And by de facto, that will support an initiative like that when it comes up.
To be honest, I've never read any of these whistleblower federal laws. Like, I haven't read them. I mean, in my legal career, I've had no reason to read them. So, I mean, I'm not.
There's no real protection.
Well,
yeah, they're a joke.
That's the thing. There's no protection even in our own constitution anymore. It's so pro-corporate.
Amy, I have a story to tell real quick. Even with whistleblower protection, back in the
how do I switch over on my screen so I can see all?
I'll give you
on
the
your
link.
New channel.
Okay.
The link should be in the chat.
Go on. I'm sorry. I'm
okay.
techie like crazy, stupid, but
In the late '80s, my mom worked.
You'll see my link in the chat.
Okay. In the late '80s, my mom worked for a laboratory in Virginia, and one of the big accounts that they had was testing the water of the James River, and they did it. I would say even a couple times a week. And after a while, my mom caught wind that what they were doing. Well, she would get some samples, and they were just, just crazy with arsenic for some reason and lead. And then other days it would just be nothing. And what the owner of the laboratory was doing is switching out the tainted samples, the real samples, with tap water. My mom, and her coworker, there were only like 2 people there in the lab, along with the lab, with the owner. What my mom and her friend did was basically rat the guy out. And I mean, when something like that happens with a small lab, there is no real whistleblower protection because the lab went under. And the guy went to, I think he went to jail, or he was like so sanctioned. I mean, he had to shut the lab down. But how are you going to protect someone or someone's job? It's either keep the lab open and continue to protect your scumbag boss, or do the right thing and call it out and then lose your job.
I actually saw a commercial today about a law firm in probably New York City about it's a litigation law firm for asbestos and this, that, and the other thing. But Aaron Brockovich was doing the commercial.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I've seen
she
her
didn't
do
get
commercials.
paid enough for the case that she worked on. Like, how the fuck did she not get a better legal job? How is she peddling for an agency who may or may not always do good things? Like, it was sort of upsetting to me.
Amy gets
I want people to have relief. I do. Litigation. I want them to have I want the DNC to be sued. I want them to lose. I want, people landlords who keep asbestos in their apartment. I want them to lose too. And doctors, that everybody is sued. And it's
go ahead. Snark. I was just going to ask, is some of this also non-disclosure agreements, which are pretty restrictive, and they shouldn't be able to have you sign away your First Amendment rights? I think that's a scary thing. That's what I wanted to ask Snort.
Yeah, there are so many different gags that it's really unreasonable, and a lot of them, some of them, in the older days especially, it's a little bit more relaxed now. But basically, if you went to work for a company, you couldn't change jobs in the manufacturing center. If you knew some kind of secret, you could quit, but you couldn't get another job. If you took another job, they'd sue you.
Right.
They say, that you learn stuff while you're at the company, so anything you do in the future is a derivative of our work. We'll charge the other company.
Yeah, you've internalized their intellectual property.
Well, yeah, at some point they call you their intellectual property.
Right.
Yeah, that is bad.
I've been sued for quitting before. I won, but it's a real hassle to have to go to court to answer for it. And at first you think it'd be ridiculous. You can just say, "What?"
It is ridiculous. Dude, for quitting? Holy shit.
Well, it's a black mark too. When you work in a specialized industry, there's only so many companies and so many people, and they hear about these things, and then where are you going to go?
And of course, they want you to keep secret, so they don't like to hear from somebody that found somebody else unethical.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that gets me too is why on earth anyone in this day and age would, in any circumstance, live stream like this and complain about their job. Unless they're a federal employee, I think I could get away with it. But if you're working in a private industry, why would you post anything on Facebook? Why would you post anything on Twitter? Why would you put yourself in that situation? I don't really understand it unless it's
that factored into my decision not to participate in social media. I dropped Facebook and all that, and it's like it's just not worth it. I feel that what I do is more important than some nonsense I'm gibbering online. So,
well, is that why you are? I mean, and I'm not being. That's why you're using the screen.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, there's lots of reasons. I think that anonymity is, number one. Like, I don't like the fact that people like bitch about anonymity. It's been a part of our history since day one in America. People would pass out anonymous handbills during the Revolution, etc., etc. Anonymity is the right of Americans. But like, not to on a personal level, like I don't want to have people owning my image. I don't want to have Google owning me talking about anything, like a picture of me doing it or a video of me doing it.
Well,
then there are personal reasons that have to do with my career and my personal life. It's just not worth it. I mean, it's nothing like terrifying. I mean, I've fucked up and like had this thing off, and I've posted my pictures on social media or whatever. That wouldn't be that big of a deal if people knew who I was and what I was all about. But there's so many negatives that, like, what's the point? I think everyone.
Well, when they use your social media accounts to like pre-screen you for jobs and stuff in the future, that is also sort of a scary thought, you know.
1 second.
I mean, even just that.
Sorry, Dave, you didn't copy paste the entire the link for the RingCentral, so people probably won't be able to get in.
Oh, all right, hold on.
If I were to do a proper show or something, and I've considered it in the past, like I would put my face out there. But again, it bothers me so much giving like my image to Google to sell and to do with what they want. I'm just giving them control of it. That bothers me a lot just in and of itself.
Dave, just copy paste from what I just put on the RingCentral group chat.
The first one?
The last one that you see, the RingCentral group chat.
Okay.
It says you're invited to RingCentral meeting now.
I'm still here.
Hey, Amy.
Unmuted and everything.
But if I did a show or something like that, I would probably feel that it would be only appropriate that I showed what it was. So I would probably end up doing it. So I don't know. Anonymity it's like a complicated question for me. I've often debated it, like, because one part of me is saying this is absurd. Like, everyone's identity is owned by Google. Like, you're just one of a billion. They're not going to pick you out of a pile and do anything with it. But it's just the principle. Like, I don't like Google owning my image.
Yeah.
Or my voice.
All right, one more thing, Dave.
I copied and pasted it now.
Okay. Also, make sure you give some people some wrenches so we can moderate the chat for you.
Sure.
I actually I love the Fourth Amendment, which has kind of disappeared. And actually, I'm sorry Scalia died because he would have fought for it for you, and I don't think Gorsuch will. But beyond that, and then today with this is really stupid, but it's another privacy invasion. I've given up. I've given up. They've asked for everything I've ever had except for my own blood. They've never asked me for blood, so I've never given it to them. I should go offer it. I might as well, because they'll figure out a way to determine what my blood is from the outside of my body.
They know your blood type already, Amy.
I know.
They've cross-referenced it, I'm sure.
They probably do, from Dr. Lester's office when I was she was my pediatrician, and I told my mom I was going to be a vegetarian, and my mom was like, what the fuck? That's not happening.
So are we going to have
Anyway.
a channel on the secret life of gnomes? You know, like where Pickle Bottoms, you know.
Wouldn't be very interesting. Not
And then
anymore.
Equifax today, I think I remember working in retail when I was in college, like in Ann Taylor factory store or something, right? And you scan these checks through a thing, so they have the check data. So if they, I think it was Equifax. Was it not Equifax? But if they had the data then, do they have the data now? And you did that shit when I was 17, so 10, 20 years ago. If they still have it electronically, the way that it was done, and are analyzing it, they have that information. I mean, they are going to get it. They've passed bills. It's not neutrality. It's the fact that they allowed the one that was like the 9% bill that nobody approved of in the whole country.
Well, you see,
where they can sell your data.
It's not the ownership of the information per se that like bothers me, or it's not the fact that they're collecting data, I should say, that bothers me. It's having private ownership of it. These things are not, Google is like a private entity, you know, and I don't like the fact that my data can be bought and sold without my consent.
Well, it can be bought
Or that my
and sold.
image can be owned, or the content of my words can be owned, or anything like that. It's,
well, it started with what you buy is actually what you're sort of leasing, and so you can buy an iTunes library, right, and then not pass it down. That breaks essential property rights in the United States. Those are, I mean, a lot of shit about law is based on property rights and what people were rich enough to own. Because you always want to, what people own to begin with is what there's, that's how the laws are created. They have to be able to keep that. That's how they're made. And then they get worse. That's what happens. So they've done that. So now you don't buy the CD. So the CD you can pass down to your kids if you have any or whatever. But if you buy it through iTunes, I don't know. That's a whole new realm of publication, and it's more of a licensing than it is a buying. So, well, then you might not own it, and your kids don't own it anymore. And that actually is very anti-rich. So anti-rich, I think Alec Baldwin tried to sue Apple over it. I don't know what's become of it. You know, this is like, that's the new kind of law about property, intellectual property.
well, and the intellectual property laws, and from what I've seen, and I'm not an attorney, okay, but they have been kept intentionally vague, in a sense, so to enable profiteering. You know, like to
intellectual
enable
property law. You don't have to like put an adjective in front of the law for that. I mean that exists.
Well,
full stop.
Well, and you know, and to exploit workers, because a lot of, like, it seems to me, and outsider could speak on this, is that union and labor laws, like a lot of them, especially when it comes to contractors, have to deal with materials and stuff provided for the employee. And like these, and like the software and a lot of this other crap, they haven't defined them clearly in the law, so they're not a property, and therefore, like, you know, etc. etc.
That's why that we've hit a point where labor
in the law.
Labor has to go back to like blue chip organizing is what they've got to do. Is
in a way that
property means
correct.
that much. Property has a tendency to have accidents and shit. If labor does that, it'll make a difference.
In a way, you're completely correct. In a way, you're completely incorrect, because who knows if we're going to need you 5 years from now. I mean, they like decide that they need you or they don't need you, and they make you temporary, and they do all this fun stuff with legal statistics. I mean, employment statistics. but they don't care if you're employed or not employed. And if you're working 3 jobs, 60 hours a week at 3 different fucking Walmarts in your county, you're counted as like 3 people being employed. And you still can't make your rent. Fuck the other 2 people who aren't working. And
I talked to a couple. I talked to an old timer one time, and he was great because he would work like hell for like half the day, and then the rest of the day he'd walk around with this level, lean against this level, and tell you great stories, you know. And he tells me this one time. He says, "You know that high rise up on the main line?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "They had to build that thing 3 times until they got the idea. They had to burn it down 3 times until the guy got the idea that, you know, he should build it the right way." And people got paid the right wage. You know, I'm just saying we're heading to a point where the way the labor laws are written, even like for the building contractors, you know, Davis Bacon right now is on the chopping block. It's always on the chopping block. It's the right wing stream to get rid of Davis Bacon because it helps to make sure that even non-union contractors are paying a living wage in an area, are paying a prevailing wage, and that's the way it works. It's just saying that if you're out there and you're doing this X job that's so dangerous, you get paid X amount of dollars, and we figure that out by having they have a yearly census of the contractors. The contractors send in their cards with their wages on it, and that's how they set their wage, to set the prevailing wage. So it's not like something big and scary. It's pretty good thing, but you know, it's been on the chopping block. I think it's going to go, you know, right to work, all that, but it's made it impossible even to pick at a job because they just two-gate it, or, you know, tell you can only have 3 people out there at a time. So, I mean, you're going to get to a point where some labor leaders are going to say this doesn't work anymore, and they're going to have to, you know, and it's going to get, you know, it won't get to the point where people are burning shit down, but it's going to get to the point where there's going to be a lot of pushing and shoving and shit broken. You know, I mean, that's the thing about the company.
Can I tell you a rich
the
person
company,
problem?
the company that doesn't need you still needs to have a factory that works, you know, and at some point the workers will say, oh, you mean these fancy new looking things that you got here? Yeah, that guy with the sledgehammers over, he's going to fix them for you. You know, I mean, that's the way shit happened, you know, and it may be the way shit'll happen again.
Real quickly, who's 830?
Oh, it's me, Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for some reason I wasn't able to join like how I usually do.
You can just refresh your YouTube page. Dave will have it in his description box. You can just click the link.
My apologies for that. Technology.
Taylor, are you in the right?
It's my first time trying to do this.
Taylor, are you in the right chat?
Yeah, I'm like in anything goes with Dave.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me see if I can post the link again.
Yeah, I posted a link too. All right, sorry.
Oh, you did too. Okay, good.
Hey.
Hey, Taylor.
Okay, here, I'm going to go ahead and...
Either mine or a bond.
I don't really like the way that it does that. Not that anybody's going to use that, but, you know, I don't want people to feel uncomfortable when the phone number goes on there like that. You know, I wish there was a way to block that.
Can I tell people a stupid, rich, and it's not rich necessarily, but it's a rich employment issue for today?
Sure.
So I live in New York, and every state's going to have their own unemployment laws. And I work as a contract attorney most of the time these days, because it pays a little bit better, but they try to pay us less and less all the time with less and less. And more hours. I mean, they'll ask for 60 hours at a ridiculously low rate. And I like to take the overtime shit. So So I did. I took an overtime shit, and I took another merger between Time Warner and AT&T, which wasn't the worst merger I've ever seen. So I worked 90 hours a week. I worked 90 hours a week from December until April.
Wow. Amy, well,
no, that's what I did. I died. My body died. My soul died. My life died, and I worked a lot.
First off,
for a lot of money, because that's what I'm worth at 40 hours a week. Fuck 90 hours a week, and don't even try.
I thought you said you took an overtime shit, and I've done plenty of those. I was like, what? Oh, but second off,
well, I didn't say second job. What are you talking about?
No, I said second off. First, I thought you said overtime shit. But second.
Oh no.
Second.
No.
Second.
No.
Well, hold on. I have, my guys have been there, but they get paid for it. They get paid handsomely for it.
Here's my point. In New York, and I just wanted to make this point because I don't think it's known at all. I didn't know it, and I've been in the unemployment ring for a lot of, rings after this job or that job or whatever job. But the thing is, in my second quarter, I wasn't allowed to get overtime, unemployment pay anymore because I had made too much in my first quarter, and I hadn't matched that in my next quarter. So if I work 40 hours a week or 35 hours a week for a month, and I don't match the 90 hours a week that I worked in the past 3 months, I'm not eligible for unemployment. I worked that many hours a week because that's the amount that I thought I should get paid. And I'm still not eligible for unemployment, and nobody would know this unless they fucking applied for it. And then we're told that they're not.
It's ridiculous, and they just have the idea that they'll just keep cutting people off the rolls. And
they keep doing that. That's what the law is. They keep doing that, and then the
unemployment numbers get better. The unemployment numbers get better because there are people that are just completely out of the system now. They've been purged. Who knows if they found work or not? They're not on the unemployment rolls.
So that makes sense, right? I'm not angry to be mad. Well, I guess. I'm not crazy to be mad, or I guess that's what I mean. Because everybody else, I don't understand what you're saying, Amy. You don't want to take a $20 an hour job? No, I have a JD. I don't want that job because I don't want other people thinking they should buy me for that amount of money.
And it's one thing to get upset about. It's one thing to get upset about.
I try. I do my best at that. I try to say no to this and that job because I think I'm worth more, and I think other people like me should think they're worth more.
And it's one thing to get upset when it's just you and you don't have a family. But when you're in that situation and you have children and maybe parents to take care of and all this.
Yeah, I don't have any.
All right. Graham has been wanting to say something real quick.
Sorry, Graham.
Amy, it's hard for you to see. All right, go
ahead. I completely understand what you're going through, Amy. I went through the same thing when I first started with the post office over a year ago. They had me working for 4.5 months straight. And I'm not kidding about that. I worked for 4.5 months without a single day off. I was after that, I finally did get a day off, and I slept the whole damn day because I was just beat. And your body can only put up with so much. And I don't know how they expect us to continue to do these kinds of jobs when they're just basically driving us into the goddamn ground. It's ridiculous. I don't know what to expect from this. I really don't.
It's like I keep saying, man. I worked on a job. It was 5 10s. No, it was 5 12s, a 10, and an 8 every week, and no day off. Yeah. And so Sunday you had 8-hour day.
I had some days that were like 9-10 hour shifts. It was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I worked as long as, I worked like 18 hours and then did a turnaround after like 4. Damn. I was back in to do like absurd. 12 more. But that was like, it was like a trade show. We had to have it set up. Okay. So, it was like a 3-day job. So you just do it. Right. But like that other one was like a year and a half. That other one with all the 10s and 8. Yeah. That one was brutal, and I worked as a foreman where I was working, 12-hour days, 5 days a week, and good 10 on Saturday. And that was all just, bull work and climbing around on shit, and that's the thing. You're going to have more accidents the more hours people work. You can't have productivity and people working long hours without accidents happening. Not without hiring more people, and they don't do that. They never hire more people to get the same amount of work done, or to add more. If they add more to, if they add more to your list of what you have to do, they just keep the same amount of people around. And in fact, when I started, we had probably double the size of crews to do things, and things went smooth. You never were, it was never as dangerous. So, I dig both of you.
And studies show that we're the most hardest working nation in the world.
Well, during Christmas, I have guys who are just overtime eaters, and the issue is that if somebody works over 99 overtime hours in the pay period, they will get kicked out of the system. I've had a few.
I've done that.
I've had a few guys get kicked out of the system for that and get all upset. It got to the point where
they had more physical work than me.
Management would have to tell them that they had to go home. Now, I know that I've been telling you guys I've been doing union work, and yesterday and today I had to do back-to-back changes of schedule. So yesterday, because I was meeting with the labor rep, I came in at 2 in the afternoon and left at 10:30 p.m. Today, I did a change of schedule, came in at 11 in the morning and left at 7:30 p.m. The plant manager saw me in the morning and said, "What are you doing here? Why are you here so early?" And I said, "Well, I have 2 back-to-back, I had 2 back-to-back changes of schedule. I came in, at 2 to 10:30 and then 11 to 7:30. And he thought that I was there for the entire night, and I stayed basically almost 24 hours. And he freaked out. And the manager behind him was just laughing. He was like, no. He went home that night and then came back in the morning. He's like, oh, okay. But people do crazy stuff. I had one guy in the, in one of the plant or one of the post offices. He stayed on the clock for 2 days straight and slept in his car because no one told him to go home.
Whoa.
Yeah. And he got the time disallowed. So, oh, wow.
And it's not just workers, it's also students too. Like in some art class students where it's like you have to be in the class to use the art equipment to do projects. I've heard of students that would actually spend the night in the classroom. Yeah.
I'm working right now. That's my own fault, though.
Something you want to say?
Sorry. Thank you very much. Listen, I've been with the kids all day. You guys come up over here. Yes, come on.
Hey, James.
We're just hanging out.
Hi, James.
Hi, James.
Hi, James.
Hey, James.
That's
You
Chase.
gotta-
Come on, come up, come up.
Well,
No, get a
Hi,
little
James, a
blue
little
shirt,
clone.
but it's still a shirt.
Okay.
Oh, hi,
So
kids.
that's Ryan. That's Chase.
Hi,
Right
Ryan.
now.
Hi,
Yeah.
Chase.
No way.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi,
It's Chase.
Hi, Chase.
Hi guys.
Go clean something.
Nice to see
My
ya.
question
Go
for
clean something.
James's
Okay,
kids
no, that's
is,
not it. That's not it. Thank you. Hi, Sarah. That's not it. But this is what's it. You guys probably already brought this up, but you guys know about the lady that called in on Jimmy Dore regarding the DNC fraud lawsuit and Bernie?
oh, wait,
Okay.
No,
Hold
I
on.
haven't.
Totally, you hacked. I tried to ask your kids a question. You sent them away. And I talked about that video earlier. Yes.
Okay, so this is important. So this girl's on the talk. So Jimmy Dore gets his thing. Hey, I'm the miserable liberal, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing he goes into is that there was a guy on some radio station that had Birdie on his show.
Iowa.
And a caller called in, and she was almost what seemed like she was crying.
No, she wasn't crying.
Who's that, Forsaken?
No,
Hi,
that's
No,
James.
that's Amy.
Amy, can you hang out for a second? You can, please. Thank you. So she was distraught. Let's just put it that way. She used $700 as I used over almost 200 with money I probably didn't really have. But anyway, she was a little distraught. She was perturbed, and she asked Bernie about the DNC fraud lawsuit. Bernie's answer was, we should move forward, not backwards. He skated it. He did not address it. And then the host of the radio show asked him more directly, no, she's talking about, do you support or did you support the fraud lawsuit? He again skated it, brought up Trump. I'm just saying right now, I am fucking done with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, Jamarl did a video on it. Did you see that?
I'm sorry?
Jamarl did a video on it.
Yeah, on that interview.
Yep.
Yeah,
Bernie's like, go forward, Trump.
Yeah, I'm just saying this guy is bought. He's done. If you can't see by the reaction, pre-planned, he just skated that completely. You gotta watch it. You gotta listen to his answer.
I disagree.
I did listen to it.
And it's
I talked about this
Yeah.
earlier.
No, I'm telling you, he should have said, or he should have supported it.
I hear you telling me.
It's
Yeah, he's the one that got fucking cheated in the first place.
I
He
wouldn't
shouldn't
have
support the
expected
fucking
him to
Democratic
say
Party.
it.
Here's Jimmy's biggest point was this: when you have something that's been a violation, to keep somebody from doing it again, you want to reprimand them. You want to,
I understand.
and
I heard
he
Jimmy.
didn't support that very important fact, is that he should have said something to that effect. Nothing.
Jimmy also
So we're
said
gonna get the
Bernie's
same
a
stuff
senator, and this
happening
is what
again.
his job is and what he's done. He's also said that. He
Well,
also said that.
The other thing is Jimmy's video came out after Jamarl's, and like he copied Jamarl's. I don't know if he even watched Jamarl's video, but like his talking points were exactly the same, and it makes me wonder if Jimmy had watched Jamarl's show and then copied his talking.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
Jamal brought the interview up first.
Yeah, like he did it like Jimmy's show came out today, right? On that.
Right.
Jamarl's came out like last night.
And Jamal knew about the interview yesterday.
Yep, he's got a video up on it. You can
Fucking
go
Jimmy Dore, that son of a bitch.
Like I don't know, like I might be jumping.
But at least
the
he
gun with
brought it
that,
up.
But
At
I
least
might
he
be
brought it up.
jumping the gun.
Well, so is the video on the Jimmy Dore Show YouTube channel?
Yeah. All right, but
Okay.
anyway, I'm done. These guys want to play video games.
I just got.
See you. Have fun, dude.
Okay. Yeah,
Later,
bye,
James.
Take care.
bye, Bernie.
Have a great
Bye,
weekend.
Bernie.
Mahalo.
I
Bye,
just wanted to
Bernie.
say-
Aloha to Bernie.
I
Hold on a
still
second.
love Bernie. I'll always love Bernie.
Yeah, me too.
My point is this: we give our hearts and our souls and our hard-earned money to these people. If they're not going to support us, I'm done. I mean, if you can't support us after all we've done, I worked for Bernie's campaign. Okay, I phone banked. I gave at least 300, maybe 400 bucks over during the primary. If he's not willing to support us after all that we put into it, I'm done. I'm out.
Okay.
Listen, Bram, if you're not going to take that hat off, I'm done.
That's my line in the sand. You've got
It's unacceptable, dude. It's just straight up unacceptable.
There's no way he ever would have said he supported that lawsuit. I would not have expected him to say it. It would not only derail him, but to be honest, I mean, personally, I think Jared and Elizabeth Beck are kind of off the wall, and I wouldn't really want to be associated with them either.
I mean, the sheer fact is, I mean, the only way you're gonna get into politics is if you become a politician. And to me, it seems like as soon as anybody becomes a politician, this kind of stuff happens.
Well, I agree with you, FC. Like, the optics of having those two at the helm are bad. And that's not to impugn them. Justified or not, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The optics are bad.
It doesn't matter. If you're not willing to support the people who supported you, I'm sorry. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Well, I mean, the optics of having Elizabeth and Jared Beck, because they do have some other controversial views, and it makes it easier for them to be painted as these lunatics. That's a very serious lawsuit, in my opinion.
Well, I think the bigger one of the bigger things on Bernie's mind is probably he doesn't want to get pasted with the sour grapes thing. And they're looking to do that at any chance they get is him sort of, and he's been real careful not to say anything about any of that. And I think he's playing a long game. I give him a little bit of room, because we don't have a whole lot of choices in the world.
Right.
And, and so I give him a little bit of room and I can't just cut him off this cold. I mean, I agree with you, Bram. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm just saying, I think, there may be an ulterior line of thinking here that he's using, or a different line of thinking he's using.
But you see, I don't care.
I don't know that.
Stevie, is that you? You got it?
Yeah.
I think it's Stevie's.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Stevie.
I think that's just Stevie.
Bad.
Yeah. Thank you.
The only thing I had left to say was just that I think that Bernie's trying to walk a tightrope right now and not looking. Not looking like he's got sour grapes, because I think that's the biggest issue. That he knows all the things they want to paint him with, and if he's not careful, they will.
Yeah, and another thing is, I mean, he also said this. It's time to move on when, I guess, reporters confronted him about Hillary Clinton's book, what happened, saying oh, here in this book they're saying she says it's your fault, that Hillary lost to Trump. What do you think of that? And then he also said the same thing. It's it's time for us to just move on. So obviously he's using that term for for us and for the neoliberals.
And
I thought that was.
And like Jamaro pointed out, where have we heard that line before?
Right.
We heard it from Obama.
Oh.
And, we've been down this road before with
I remember original. Now you're still buzzing. You're still buzzing, Dad.
Check to see if the cord is partially unplugged.
Well, anyways, dude, I don't really, like, again, I don't care what his plans are. Like, he's shown, like, you know, through his actions what he's all about, in my opinion. And unless, like, again, if he made it to the general, I might have to reconsider my stance on not supporting Bernie. But I'm not going to play these games of Bernie's, like, walking a tightrope and he's playing 3D chess and all this. You know, we've seen what he's doing. It's plain as day.
I think it's pretty straightforward politics, though. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't even think it's that deep. It's like he knows that if he says anything about anything, he's going to get all kinds of shit for it. So right now, I thought with the book thing, everything he said, like, lent him a little bit more class than Hillary in that moment. And so Hillary looked shallow and petty, and he looked better. So I don't even think, I don't think it's like 3D chess. I just think it's this straightforward, regular politics. And I just think, as far as they say, I think he's playing a long game because he still wants to be a senator and everything else. And so,
he'll just keep playing these games, and then every time, like, there's a challenge, instead of like going for the throat, what he'll do is he'll try to, like, he'll lose a few yards and then maybe try some other crazy play, like, that's, I mean, we just can't count on him to follow through.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I guess I'm open to anybody at this point. I mean, that's my thinking is I'm pretty open to anybody, but they've got to meet some standards. And I mean, I think that once you start really looking at people's records, it's hard to find the people that we're looking for unless they're brand new.
But it doesn't matter, like, what their records are if they don't do it. Like,
yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about people that have records of what they've done. I want to know, like, what they did with the power, and that gives me an idea. If otherwise, like, there's a certain amount of like, I don't know. There's a certain amount.
Once they get into the party system, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, they will conform to the party system. They will become dependent on it. And they'll follow party directives. And that's it. Like, either that or they're out. And once you're in and then they kick you out, they make sure you're out. Yeah, they try to make you look like a fool, or like maybe some kind of a bigot, or there's some really serious issue with you.
Yeah, and that's not just with politics. That's also with mainstream media. They'll, like, fire reporters who reveals too much truth to power. Just like Joe Walsh, I think his name was, for MSNBC. He was, like, the only one that would spoke out against, like, the war in Iraq.
Is this anybody who's a part of the party system at this point, unless I see some serious changes, like, can't be trusted.
She raised a hand, and then she looks like she left. I guess it was the all right.
See
the sound issues. Yes, Brown.
Look, I just want to reiterate or kind of clarify what I was saying before. I'm looking back at it, and the truth is I think, me personally, I'm looking at the money I've lost, and I'm looking at the effort I put into it. And I think I'm just still too emotionally attached to it to really have, honestly, a rational opinion when it comes to Bernie. I think at this point, a lot of us are probably in the same position. We're looking at the effort we put into it, and it's heartbreaking to see that he's not willing to, kind of voice our frustrations. I don't know what his game plan is. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. But at this point, I think I myself, I'm too emotionally invested in it still to really have a rational opinion on what the hell's going on. I do. When it comes to Bernie, I think I'm too emotionally connected to it.
Well, I think
I totally dig that.
I think rejecting Bernie is a perfectly rational position to take. I didn't donate any money to Bernie or any labor to him. Right? I supported Jill Stein all the way through. But so I was never emotionally invested in Bernie. But watching what happened over this election cycle, I mean, just the public, you know, they just dismantled our democratic system in front of the American people. There's been other elections where it's gone on behind the scenes a bit in the past, but now it's right out in front of us, and it was in 2002 pretty much, or 2000. And, you know, now the question is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to reform the system? Outside of these parties, the parties are a dead end. And anybody who signs up for them, like, is out, in my opinion. It's been that way even before this election cycle for me, but it's just such a clear example of it. $212 million that Bernie funneled into the DNC.
Yeah, it just went to Clinton.
You know, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable to like make citizens go out and do these things labor-wise.
I'm kind of upset with Act Blue. I might have this wrong, but I believe that any money donated to a candidate through Act Blue, if that candidate, you know, loses the primary, it goes to the other person.
I don't think so, because the whole rules of the game and everything, I mean, it's not about where you get it donated through. It's that you have three options if you lose, and I don't think Act Blue can set those rules because they're. You know,
that's for the money that's already been. That's for the money that's already been transferred to the candidate. I believe Act Blue might hold some.
That's all.
I think Act Blue's that Act Blue money though is the way they got money was through tips. That's how Act Blue got their money. They didn't take money out of the money for the candidate. They got money out of the tips they were given. That's how they ran it. Right. You could
like
give
PayPal,
them.
They took like 2 or 3% or something of donations, kind of like PayPal does. They took a certain.
Well, yeah, I mean, they may have.
But for their operating
right.
costs.
And that's all well and good if the candidate vetting process is fair and reflective of the will of the citizens, of the party members.
Right.
Well, I think this time it's going to be a little different because, I mean, the only reason I say that is because it isn't going to be like one Hillary Clinton. There's going to be like 8 people on the stage, all hopping to be president. It's not going to be a clear field like it was this time.
I agree.
They'll
have a bunch of kids.
That in and of itself will cause the DNC to have to be a little bit less blatant about it. But you know, I'm not holding my breath about anything. It's just, you know, my general opinion of like all this shit is just it's a continuous fight, guys, and so we. You know, we're going to make up ground here and there. And we made up ground. We made up a lot of ground, actually, because we've gotten things into the lexicon. You know, people are talking about single payer health care. People are talking about income inequality. People are using terms that are, you know, it's, I don't know. It doesn't happen all at once. I wish it did. I thought, you know, there are a couple times that I thought it could, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we've pretty much even destroyed like Cory Booker's chance of becoming president because of like, you know, all of us like speaking out against him, like even on social media about like how he like he didn't accept Bernie Sanders' bill to import drugs from Canada that would lower the cost of drugs.
You don't know how much that breaks my heart that Cory Booker doesn't have a chance. It would almost break my heart more if Kristen Gillibrand didn't have a chance, or Kamala Harris.
Every time they put one of these people up, like people say, "Oh, some of these progressives are crazy." No, like every time that they put someone like that up, we shred them.
Mm-hmm.
And we make sure that people like Cory Booker are rejected early on in the process.
Or Kamala Harris.
And we
or
go after
Kamala
them
Harris.
like mercilessly. Yep, Kamala Harris, all these people. We shred them.
I think the one thing about this too is they also know that, and so they're going to send out some people just to get beat on. You know.
Yep.
I don't know that Kamala Harris was that person, but there are going to be some people that certain Dems or the Democratic Party nudge forward just to be sort of cannon fodder for what they consider the more candidates with better chance.
That's an old strategy, dude. And in the modern day, we're seeing it with Chris Christie.
And maybe
Not
in the end
with the
they'll put up
Democrats,
Warren or something, and because Warren has shown that she's willing to toe the party line. I mean, she was like really gung-ho about, Hillary, or she was about, just fighting Trump, and I wonder if that's who they'll put forward in the end, figuring everybody will go for Warren.
Mm.
And Biden even has talked about maybe running this time.
Oh, I can't stand him anymore since he endorsed Tom Perez for DNC chair.
I really don't see Biden doing it.
I don't.
Last
Yeah.
time, I don't think he's going to do it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll enjoy life in Delaware again.
Yeah.
Do we really want the guy who wrote and authored the Patriot Act?
No.
Or the bankruptcy bill? No, I don't want him.
Yeah.
You know, he's a nice. I think Joe is probably a really nice guy, but he's a shitty politician. You know, and he's a shitty legislator and lawmaker / executive. I think that they're going to push forward Kirsten Gillibrand. They've been trying to shiny up her progressive side for a while. And, and she's been keeping her head down a little bit. But I think Kirsten Gillibrand's going to be the one they're going to push out in the front. And my old theory still stands that Chelsea Clinton is going to try to run in for Gillibrand's seat.
That's hilarious.
I think that actually what's going to happen is that they're going to push Kamala Harris out there first, pull her back, and then push Gillibrand.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I think too.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
They may also go straight to Chelsea.
I think they're going to
beyond absurd. These people live in a damn fantasy world. Like, there's already so much pushback against this generational, thing that we've got going on here in America with the Clintons and the Bushes. There's got to be a breaking point to it. And maybe, Chelsea Clinton is that breaking point. People will say, this person is just completely unqualified. And the only reason why she's here is because of her mom.
I'm waiting to see who the millennials pick.
I know. I mean, to me, it's like the Clintons are just so stubborn. It's like, since the Bushes were able to have 2 family members become president, now it's like they think they have to do the same thing.
The Clintons have nobody to blame but themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think they have to have let's see, the Bushes were able to have 2 family members become president. All right, we got to do that.
They need to go back to the woods where they belong.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton wanted to be president since she was First Lady of Arkansas. Don't kid yourself, man. That woman wanted to be president forever. That was her own personal dream.
I think she wanted to be president ever since, and I keep on saying this, ever since she made that commencement speech at her college, ever since that, and she's got a taste of that publicity, she wanted more, and she actually wanted to be president. I think that's what started it.
And I think she saw Bill. I think she saw Bill Clinton as a way to get there. I really do.
True.
Much less love someone. I think it's a house of cards kind of thing.
I see her as a psychopath. I see her as a political psychopath.
I think anybody that gets married to somebody just for political reasons, and I can see where that could be a whole lot of the reasons she got married. Has to be one of the signs of psychopathy.
Well, Bill married up, didn't he? That's the way it worked. It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah, but
like that, her family was the one who had prominence.
But Bill had a line of bullshit a mile long, and he was smart. You know, he could retain information and spit it out in a rapid fire, way. And so, if you, I don't know. I mean, if you were going to be pretty mercenary about it, he would be a good pick to like ride his coattail kind of guy. But I agree that she wanted to run since I think she probably wanted to run for president. She got out of the womb. And she probably was pre-planning her rollout inside the womb.
I mean, is there something I'm missing?
With neurotandem.
Is there something I'm missing about Chelsea? I mean, because I haven't really looked into her that much. She hasn't really done anything, has she? I mean, she hasn't served in any office.
Yeah, I know she's written some books about civil rights, but to me, it's like they're just very not. To me, it's just they're kind of like, I don't know. It's not really all that accurate and good. It's kind of like very narrow-minded. It seems like.
I mean, I remember reading about her getting paid a full salary for writing the equivalent of 2 paragraphs a month.
Yeah, and they're like kid books.
Like it was.
She got a starter job where she got paid. I think it's $600,000 a year.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Chelsea is Bill and Hillary's Ivanka.
But worse. She'll never get in.
I mean, I think the Clinton years are over. They're just gonna have to accept it.
They should be. Honestly, I'm just gonna say this. I'm actually glad that Hillary Clinton lost. I really wanted to see her dream smashed. I mean, I say that in the most darkest, humorous way. I'm being very honest when I say it. But it was funny that she got wasted at the night of the election when she lost. It just shows that she's like a political celebrity.
Mm-hmm. I know, and then the fact you see all those people crying, like closer, like very late night during the election. It's like, well, it's karma. Now you know what it felt like when the Bernie Sanders cried. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I actually cried in a shower.
I seriously hope that this one of these storms drops a house on their ass. I think that would be cool.
Here's the thing with all the Democratic guys. It's like the Borg. They're like the Borg.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
One person, or Hydra. One of these guys goes down, 2 of them take their place.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to stop talking about one person. You got to cut it at the roots. Now,
true.
How do I do it? I don't know, but Hillary isn't the problem. It's it's the whole democratic system. The DNC
I agree.
Is the planning. Cut one of those roots.
The whole damn thing is corrupt.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we shouldn't focus on Bernie so much. Like, what Bernie says at this point is basically irrelevant. We can be upset about him. Like, we know in my opinion, like, I know where I stand with Bernie. I see him as a sheepdog. So to me, like, anything that comes out of him, while I might agree with the words, like, again, I'm not going to give him any of my time and effort.
Yeah.
So I know his role. There's really no point talking about his policy positions and whatever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and it's that same way with Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump completely said the opposite of what he said he would do when he was campaigning compared to like what he's doing now,
I don't think Bernie ever really cared about winning so much as he cared about having the power to get out there and get the message out and get people talking about those issues that he thinks are important, like single payer. I think that was his issue. He wasn't doing it for the Democratic Party. He wasn't doing it really for the presidency itself. He was doing it to get his message out there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my problem with
people supporting the message, because he kept saying it's not about me.
Yeah.
Right.
Hold on, I want to get this point out though. Here's the problem with Bernie and the platform. He's been spouting the same platform for 40 years, and all of a sudden the platform got popular, and these people, John Ossoff, and all of these fake progressives start popping up. So just spouting out the progressive platform, that's not going to cut it. I want somebody who I see from the ground up is following the platform, not a flippy floppy. Not a Hillary. If you saw the SNL skit where Hillary was basically turning into Bernie in a commercial, and then she went back to Hillary after she won the party.
Oh yeah. I remember they showed some pictures of that in like the Humus Report when he talked about her book.
I'm sorry. Go continue.
That book is worth burning. What happened?
Don't.
You happened to lose.
Don't throw away good toilet paper.
As far as like Hillary beating Trump, I mean, who knows? Like maybe like Hillary would have been worse. Maybe she would have been better than Trump. Like we'll never know. But there's good arguments on both sides of that. There are good reasons to believe that we're better off with Trump than we were with Hillary.
Yeah, I think, I think since Trump became president, I think, there's like been a rise of progressivism too, because, like with all the protests happening and all that, but, but if it was Hillary that became president, it's like, obviously the media wouldn't be like really hitting her hard like they're doing with Trump, and obviously there wouldn't really be that much of awareness where there would be a bunch of protests happening too.
Well,
that's like another thing.
The scary thing about that, Hillary was really only better sort of marginally, in the margins. She, social issues, certainly she would be better than Trump and some other things, but I just lost the whole thought about the big scary thing about if Hillary won was who the next Republican to run against her was going to be, because he wasn't going to be a buffoon like Trump. He would be a straight, whoever we would run next against Hillary that could win would be even scary, would turn up Trump scary, but have it on a straight face,
Trump's pretty impotent in and of himself. He has the powers of the United States presidency, I'll grant him that. But, overall, he's impotent. Half of his own party hates him, like Democrats hate him. Population has been intentionally driven against him. He's not that smart to begin with in a lot of ways. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's again, he's a babe in the woods. He's getting led around by the nose. Trump isn't that big of a threat.
Yeah, I look at it as one of those, like, you can give a toddler a tower crane. It doesn't mean he's going to be lifting shit with it anytime soon,
Yeah.
and Trump with the presidency, that's the one saving grace, is he doesn't know where the handles or controls are. And that Hillary did. That was what there was a scary side of Hillary.
Yeah, and I think
she did know where all the handles were, and she was rather adept at fucking us over with them. So that I can wait and sort of cringe every time Trump has a new idea, but you know, at least he's got a half and half chance of fucking it up because he doesn't know how to do it.
Right, and I mean, I think we would have had a better chance of being at war with Russia too if Hillary became president. You know, like with her policies of like wanting to have a no-fly zone, like in Syria, you know, on Russia's ally. I mean,
yeah, that's a perfectly rational argument, you know.
I would actually be afraid that Hillary Clinton, if she were to be president, that she would actually truly destroy the planet.
I don't think anything like that. I mean, I think she was corrupt. I think she's a hawk, but I think she has much more common sense than Trump has, and at all. I mean, Trump has no common sense, and Trump, can say anything that'll set anyone off. And when you have, especially like with North Korea, you have somebody who's very unstable in charge over there too. So you have somebody unstable here and somebody unstable there. It's a recipe for disaster if they can't, if you can't control one or the other.
I actually disagree. I think Trump is the more stable mentally from the actions that she's done and the way that she is so vindictive that if another country's leader had done something, I'm concerned with what she would have done. And she's more vindictive than Trump is. And a lot of people in politics are afraid to upset the Clintons or their posse.
I have to say, to me, the whole Trump versus Clinton thing is kind of like spy versus spy. They're all pretty much just as bad.
Yeah.
Either one of them. I don't know. I think there would have been less publicity on the immigrant issues. I don't know if she would have really treated immigrants that much better. I don't think she would have made it as public. But I don't know as far as war goes. I don't know. I mean, I'm a big thing. I have a big thing about perception in politics. Like if the other countries in the world thought that America was more stable when Clinton was in, perception sometimes becomes reality. But I think both of them are nuts.
Well, I think as far as global strategic positioning and whatnot, the president plays a lot smaller of a role than most people think. So, even if we have crazy Trump and crazy Kim Jong-un on the other side, both of those people are there for purposes, that don't necessarily.
Public perception is a wild card. I mean, it does play into it too.
Yeah, I mean, the powers of these leaders aren't what the population imagines them to be.
Yeah, but
not that they can't affect these things or don't have power, but they're just not as powerful.
Right.
Yeah, but when you're backed by a Congress that's very hawkish to begin with and very anti-Muslim and very greedy and corrupt and that, then you can get away with a lot.
Well, as far as that goes, they both would try to get away with, that kind of stuff. It's just who would put us in a position that would allow for something unexpected to happen. See, that's the thing. The superpowers aren't going to go to war over Syria if they can help it. They'll do everything to prevent it.
Right.
But mistakes can happen.
Right. Things
can get out of control. And what you want to do is avoid those risk-heavy situations. And who would put us into more of those, I guess, would be the question. Again, the role of the president is less than what we think when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I think Trump is more likely. Sorry, go ahead, Carpenter.
I was just going to say she's somebody said vindictive. Yeah, I mean, she's stone cold, man. I mean, she's very, very, she'll cut you. And as far as that is the one thing that on the one side of things, she's just slightly more able to keep things like North Korea. North Korea is kind of question mark, you know. They're not necessarily in the big picture game here, you know. They're in the Kim Jong Un picture thing, and so you know, I think that in that one case, Hillary would have been better just because she knows how to do diplomacy a little better. And Trump has a tendency to sound like a jackass at just the wrong time, you know. But I think that man, yeah, it's a close call on Hillary. I mean, it really is. That's how much I think how bad she was.
Well, then we can't discount
that. It's not only the damage she does, like war and that kind of stuff. It's also the damage she does to the progressive movement by further cementing this garbage sort of platform into one of the major parties of our system. You know.
Yeah, and as far as you know, her mental state, there's possibility that she has some neurological problems. Okay, like we've seen some evidence of that, and like, you know, that's kind of disconcerting. Her behavior is just, you know, she doesn't have an even keel. Like less so than Trump. People say that like Trump talks and he shoots his mouth off or whatever, but then like he goes back to being Trump. Like, you know, but Hillary, she couldn't even come out on election night. Next day, or I'm sorry, not the next day, but when Trump's inauguration happened, like if you looked at her, she just looked like she was about to kill someone and could barely control herself.
Well, I thought the not coming out thing was just the shallowest little, you know, whiny kind of thing. I thought that oh man, she's just she was smashed. She's cold, man. I mean, she was cold in the 90s. Don't kid yourself. When she was young, she was cold. So don't, you know, it's not like she suddenly had got some mental issue and she got cold. She was cold back then, you know, and she will say it's because they made me cold. And that's bullshit. You know,
she made herself cold.
Yep, that's an excuse. It's like everything else Hillary says. You know, look at it a little bit deeper. And she was cold with people that were supposedly their friends, and you know, she's just not
she was
good
despised
people.
as a first lady. She was,
yeah,
she's
yeah, that's what I'm
the
saying.
most disliked first lady ever.
Right. And you know, also it's like, you know, with Trump, you know, I mean, to me, I think really, you know, the only thing that I think Trump was able to kind of like learn from Bernie Sanders of how to attack Hillary. You know, I think if it wasn't for Bernie Sanders, I don't think, you know, Trump would have had a much more difficult time attacking on Hillary. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, you know, you got Bernie's critique of Hillary was pretty devastating. And, you know, Trump picked up on it. And
Well, and the thing was, it was there. Everybody knew. It wasn't like like Bernie invented something. We all knew it. That was why we weren't voting for in the first place. You know, it wasn't all this stuff. This wasn't like big secrets or something. We all knew this about it, and we were pissed about it. I was thinking FC's comment, and she was talking about the most despised first lady, and just think, I know. We'll buy her a Senate seat, and then we'll run her for president.
Well, the thing is, as far as her blaming Bernie for this, like,
yeah, I mean,
you know, the fact is that anyone, like, if it wasn't Bernie labeling that criticism against her, it would have been someone else, and then Trump would have picked up on whoever was doing that and done the same thing. So, you know, if you blame Bernie for spouting this anti-Hillary rhetoric,
well, no, I mean, it's her fault,
and therefore Hillary lost the election. You know, then you're blaming Bernie through that process.
Well, I mean, you're blaming
it's killing the messenger, is what it is.
Right. I mean, you blaming you blaming Bernie would be like blaming the truth of reality.
Well, so again,
Bernie
someone
went
else would
easy
have.
on her. He could have gone so much harder on her. There was so many things he could have said and done, and he went relatively easy on her. Anybody
Yeah, like
else would have gone much harder.
yeah, like with the emails, he was soft on her on the emails.
My problem. This is where I kind of blame Bernie. I think Bernie had a number of opportunities where he could have really nailed her. I mean, just completely pulled the rug out from under her during that campaign. And he just, kind of softballed her. And I kind of understand why he did that. I think he was just trying to be a gentleman. But I think he took it a little too far. That's my opinion. I
have a theory. I had to put my tinfoil hat on for a second, but I think. Well, I'm conjecturing for a second, just a what if. What if? Kind of like the whole Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky thing. Bernie Sanders actually knew the DNC involvement, if there was anything with like Seth Rich and Vince Foster and all that garbage, if he actually knew and didn't do anything, what in God's green earth would have happened? I'm not saying it did. I'm not at all. But what would have happened? The world would have lost its mind, and that whole thing would have gone crashing down. I mean, I have absolutely no proof of that whatsoever, but I just thought in my head, oh my God, what if he actually knew something, or just, had a suspicion, or had possible something that just didn't make any sense, and he didn't come forward, and it actually turned out. I don't think he did. I don't think he would know, but I think
Bernie knew. I think that he knew several months out. And I've mentioned this before. There was a point before the primaries where his message began to change. And it was it's not about me, it's about these ideas. And he kept repeating this message over and over.
Oh, and then it was about Trump.
And then but this was before the primaries.
Right.
And he's, to think that he wouldn't know about that, you could probably know about that just from looking at balance sheets, or at least figure something out. You've got a team of political operatives. You know about what's going on, that they've pre-selected a candidate. Okay. And and regardless of how he found out, I clearly heard that there was a change in his message. And there was this kind of don't get your hopes up too high kind of tone to it. And it was an abrupt change, and it happened a couple months out before the primary. So I think he knew.
Okay.
You mean about how Seth Rich how Seth Rich died?
Oh no, I thought you were referring to the fact that the DNC had chosen a candidate.
Oh, I thought you meant
No, I was actually talking about the whole Vince Foster, all the mysterious.
Oh, no, sorry, no.
All of the mysterious weirdness. I know he knew about the DNC.
I must have misunderstood something. Yeah, he definitely knew about the DNC. As far as this Vince Foster and stuff, I really haven't looked into some of these enough. I can tell you that the Seth Rich murder was bungled by the cops, and we'll never know the truth. That's what I think is going to happen as far as that goes.
Yeah, I guess obviously because he's activist, true activist, Seth Rich, just like Martin Luther King.
Do I put it past these people to have assassinated him on the basis of him leaking information? Of course not. Do I put some of these other Clinton deaths beyond the Clintons? No, but who knows? Well, these are things that we'll probably never know, and they'll never come to trial for.
I know.
Some of those things are such a reach. Some of these ones are saying the Clinton death toll. If they had, if they knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew Clinton, they're added to the list, you know, or I mean, like everybody who died who they knew is on this list, no matter how far fetched. And you know, it doesn't even have to be particularly suspicious. You know, they make it sound suspicious. I mean,
yeah. And it also reminds me of like that that guy, I forgot, yeah, Tidwell, you know, who was like he was in the Arizona NFL team, and then he went to like Afghanistan.
Pat
and
Tillman?
then yeah, Pat Tillman, and then apparently how he died, they believed it was by friendly fire, and then they made that documentary about him, like the Tillman story.
It absolutely was. And they were trying to hide it like crazy, and his mom called him out on it.
So that, yeah, I mean, to me, that's exactly how it is. I mean, to me, that's the way I see it. Was like Seth Rich too.
Well, friendly fire is a little different than, you know, than what people were proposing about Seth Rich. They're proposing, you know, about Seth Rich kind of, as I said, kind of a house of cards kind of thing. Like they took him out. That, and you know, the Pat Tillman thing was just the, you know, the friendly forces messed up, and you know, the government wanted to hide the fact that it was, you know, that it was friendly fire. So
yeah, because he was gonna, you know, he's gonna campaign for John Kerry and tell him that, you know, we shouldn't even be in Afghanistan.
Well, and the fact that he was Pat Tillman, you know, I mean, they would hide it the same way, but they went to special effort with Pat Tillman.
Yeah, since he's like a celebrity.
Well, they gave him medals, didn't they? They gave him something like some sort of posthumous valor medal or something. I think
so, and I think his mom. I mean, his mom didn't reject it, but she, you know, she flamed for that too. Like you can't
she was great.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I like her a lot. And he was anti-war. I mean, by the end he was well, at least he was against the Iraq War. You know, that's for sure.
Yeah, because and obviously that the Iraq War just distracted, you know, the war in Afghanistan. Not that I'm saying we should have been in Afghanistan anyway, but obviously it just slowed it down.
Well, I think by the end he didn't think we should be in Afghanistan. I think that he was pretty much of a mind that we were losing good people to you know, an idiotic cause for, you know, rich people, and against the people that they've got no, you know, when we go in and we invade somewhere, and it isn't like we're freeing them from something. If we aren't freeing them from something, then we're invading forces, you know.
Right.
And you know, I don't know about y'all, but if somebody invaded the U.S., I'd be just as soon be dug in somewhere trying to take one or two out before they got me, you know. I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, so we treat these different people like they're you know, a terrorist or something. People are just rational, doing what they would rationally do if somebody came in and tried to run their country, or to come in and, you know, tell their people what to do.
All right.
And these people just got done doing that shit with Russia, so they were pretty adept at doing a lot with nothing.
Well, I'm heading to bed, everyone.
Yeah, I think I'm headed to bed too. I'm falling asleep.
Okay.
I was actually,
night, Bram. Night, guard now.
Night, Bram. Good night.
Actually, I'm going too. I was just trying to figure out a good time. So thanks, Bram.
Night,
at least now I don't look like I'm going out because I was a wimp. I kept up until at least one person left. Good night, guys.
All right, guys. Love you guys. You guys take care.
Yeah, you too, Eric, especially.
Yeah, take care of yourself, Eric. Let us know you're doing all right, man.
All right, will do.
Okay. All right,
love you guys. You guys take care.
All right.
All right.
And then there were 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get off too. I need to wake up early.
You have yourself a good night, Taylor. You take care. We love you.
Bye. Oh, like, love you all too.
Night.
All right,
Night.
so Forsaken, you have anything left to say before we
About what? Save a topic.
all I really have to say is thanks everybody for showing up.
Anytime.
I think that everybody on here, they really, I would say 99.9% of these people, of everyone on this channel, they want to help. I think we get a little worked up sometimes, and things happen, but for the most part, we really want to help. And Eric, you take care, brother, because
Will do.
Listen, we're all obviously we're thinking of you, and anybody else out there that lives in the Gulf Coast states. I don't know. I can't think of the people right off the top of my head, but any of those people on this channel, please, post that you're okay. Anybody in Texas, let us know you're all right, because we are thinking of you, and we do.
Yeah.
Me too.
We really do care. So I'm gonna log out myself, I think. And
keep us posted, Eric. I mean,
Will do.
Post something on Twitter or something if you can.
Will do.
And let us know, you're safe.
Will do.
And David, where's my lunch?
I was waiting for you to say something. I figured you were too busy. I figured you were too busy in chat. You were one of my chat people, or you were too busy on the channel. So that's why you didn't get a wrench right away. Stevie got one because she was having the issues, and there were a lot of people that weren't actually physically on tonight for whatever reason. But thanks everybody for contributing in chat and here, and I hope everybody had a good time. I know there was a little thing. Listen, we do appreciate everybody's contributions on here. We just ask it, you respect each other. That's all. I know everybody every once in a while there's a dust up, and I understand that, but that's all. I think for the most part everything runs pretty smoothly on here. So you guys take it easy.
Will do.
Thanks for making a great first Indy O live stream. Thank you.
Yep. Congrats
Welcome.
on your first stream.
Woohoo!
Congrats.
Now maybe the next time I do it, I'll actually be prepared and know how to set the thing up and and cut and paste. I'm probably just gonna cut and paste from this one. So thanks, guys. You guys have a great night.
All right. Love you all. Yeah. Have yourself a good night. And you guys take care. And I'll be safe.
Yeah.
Will do.
Good night. Stay safe, Eric.
Will do. You guys take care.
Night,
Love y'all.
Night, everybody.